In today's podcast, I begin a series based on my brand new book, The Secret to Becoming Soulmates, a couple's devotional journey to spiritual intimacy. My beautiful blonde Sandy, who I talk a lot about, and I are very excited about this book. It's the first devotional book I've written. I recommended devotionals to couples for years. Now I can ignore all the other couples' devotionals and recommend mine because mine's the best. Look, let's be honest. Now, The Secret to Becoming Soulmates is the most personal book I've ever written. I write about my life growing up, my mom and dad, the good and bad things that have happened to me, my life with Sandy, our marriage, our kids and grandkids. Very personal. Now, this devotional is really the story of how Sandy and I learned how to become soulmates, how to spiritually bond. I don't do a podcast, I don't write a book, I don't do a video until I know something works. I'm not a theory guy, I'm a practical guy. So when I know something works, and I'll share it with my audience. So as the two of you go through this 52-day devotional, and it's designed to go through together, not on your own, together, you will share personally, you'll connect on a deeper level, and most of all, you will learn how to put God at the center of your relationship. That's the whole key to marriage. But people don't know how to do that. Couples don't know how. I know how. Sandy and I know how. I'm going to teach you how. Now, here's some exciting news. Before the book is released, which is our release date is November 1st, 2020. We're having a special pre-sale. If you buy in the month of October and just go to the website, everything's laid out there. It's a special pre-sale price. David E. Clarke, Clarke with an E, David E. Clarke, PhD.com. You will get a special price on the book. And then, of course, come November 1st, we'll have a ton of orders. And the blonde, who's my office manager and goes to the post office, I can't be going to the post office. My time is too precious. Don't tell her that. Anyway, she will have a bunch of orders and she will ship those out on November 1st to you. Again, the website has not just The Secret to Becoming Soulmates, but all the books I've written, all my approaches to save marriages in crisis. Okay. Would you like to know the secret to deep, lasting intimacy? Yes, you can know it. I know the secret. I'm not merely trying to get your attention, even though I hope I have. I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling you the absolute rock-solid truth as I have experienced it in real life, as a Christian, as a husband, and as a clinical psychologist. My beautiful and wonderful blonde Sandy and I discovered the secret to real intimacy. It wasn't easy, and it took a while, but we found it. Here's what happened. Here's the story in a nutshell. 1997 was not a good year for the Clarkes. In 1997, Sandy and I were 15 years into our marriage. Because Sandy couldn't keep her hands off me, or was it the other way around, we had 4 children, ages 12, 10, 7, and 3. That would be Emily, Leanne, Nancy, and William Clarke. Life, to put it mildly, was chaotic. Sandy was a stay-at-home mom. She left the home only to cart the kids around and buy food, clothes, and other things for them, and buy gas so she could drive the thundering herd of Clarkes to school and all their varied activities. You know what? We had to end up getting a minivan. No real man wants to get a minivan. I had a Volvo station wagon. Oh, a thing of beauty. It was like an aircraft carrier. It was strong. It was rough. Little cars would scatter as I drove down the road. But then Nancy came along. Sandy got pregnant again. I just looked at her. She got pregnant. And so with 3 kids, Sandy said, oh, we can't have the Volvo. We have to get a minivan. Oh, but you know what? Of course, Nancy's been worth it. She's wonderful. Now, I was busy with my practice, seminar ministry, book writing. Somebody had to make money for the 6 of us to survive. Sandy's job was more intense and demanding. I freely admit it. I didn't have the skill set or the stamina to do her job. And so we ended up losing each other. One day in 1997, Sandy and I stopped long enough, sat down, and had a conversation about our marriage. We admitted that somewhere along the way, we had simply lost each other. Neither of us was talking divorce or even thinking it. That's not true. We still loved each other, always have. But we weren't in love anymore. The spark, the passion, the intimacy had left the building. You know what the difference is between loving someone and being in love with them? A huge difference. Our marriage was at best okay, and we didn't get married for okay. Okay does not even rise to good for a relationship like marriage. Okay was not going to cut it for us. So we started brainstorming ideas on how to get our intimacy back. We were not going to settle for okay. I don't want you to settle for okay in your marriages. And so the light came on. The answer was right in front of us. In fact, the answer was inside each of us. Both of us were Christians, which means we had a personal relationship with God through faith in his son, Jesus Christ. We attended church every weekend. We served in the church. We were in a small group of young couples who attended the church. We each had a daily personal quiet time with God in which we read the Bible and prayed. All that's good. But we agreed that our spiritual lives were separate. We were on parallel tracks that did not intersect. We were not sharing with each other about our personal experiences with God. There was a wall between our two spiritual lives. I had a relationship with God, and Sandy had a relationship with God. But we did not have a relationship with God together. And that's the key. So we decided to spiritually bond. That year, 1997, Sandy and I decided to begin a process of spiritual bonding. Here's how we define spiritual bonding. It is consistently placing God, the God of the Bible, at the very center of your relationship. That's where he belongs, at the very center of your relationship, and growing closer to him as a couple. As we developed our spiritual bond, we realized a truth that we should have known all along. God is the secret to deep, lasting intimacy in marriage. He is the only secret. There aren't any others. As we grew closer to God, together, everything changed in our relationship. We experienced spiritual intimacy, and spiritual intimacy is the best and deepest kind of intimacy. But it doesn't stop there. Our spiritual intimacy gave us back our emotional intimacy, which we'd also lost. Our ability to talk and connect in conversation. You don't put God at the center of your marriage, you're going to lose that too. 6, 7 years, gone. That's what happened to us. It's amazing we lasted 15 years. Listen to this. This will get the men's attention. In fact, ladies, call your man in to see the video or to listen to the podcast at this point. Listen to this. Our spiritual intimacy gave us back our physical intimacy, our ability to make love. Now, no more kids came on the scene because I manned up and got fixed. Now, I acted like the vasectomy was like childbirth. You have to milk it for a few days. It wasn't that bad. Again, you lose your physical. That's 18 months to 2 years into marriage. You lose the passion there too, without God at the center of your marriage. You'll keep making love, but it's going to be more of a biological act, not spiritual and emotional, which it's supposed to be, and physical. Truth is, our new emotional and physical intimacy were better in our marriage than ever before. That's what God can do. He'll make it better than ever. Now, I'm convinced, Sandy and I are convinced that spiritual bonding will work for you too. This small book, The Secret to Becoming Soulmates, although it's 170-some pages, is largely the story of Dave and Sandy's experience in spiritual bonding. It didn't happen quickly, it wasn't easy, and it took time to build a strong spiritual bond, but it has been worth the effort, 1,000 times over, worth the effort. Now, we didn't rush the process. We took a longer, relaxed, and gentle path to spiritual bonding. We took baby steps. This book is a series of 52 baby steps. In our American culture, and this has even crept into the church and the Christian area, everything has to be fast. It's 1 week to this and 1 week to that and 30 days to change a pattern. That's ridiculous. It takes time. This is going to take you months, step by step, moving through obstacles and growing together. It's like a crock pot, not a microwave, and it will work, but it's not going to be fast. Again, 52 baby steps. This approach worked for Sandy and I, and we believe it will work for you too as well. Now, let me tell you I wrote this book, but I also wrote it with my dad. Now, if you don't know who I am, I've been a clinical psychologist in practice for over 30 years, 34 years just last month. My primary concentration is couples. Saving and improving marriages is what I do, and also I work with a lot of individual spouses whose spouses have gone crazy, sinning terribly, wanting a divorce for bogus reasons, or spouses in abusive relationships. Now, my approach is hands-on and practical, so is this book. I don't recommend a strategy until I know it works, as I said before. Listen to this. Spiritual bonding works every time it's tried by a couple. If you will try God, he will work every time. Now, let me tell you about my writing partner, who's my dad, William Clarke. People say, who's William G. Clarke? Because his name's on all my books, just about all my books. It's my dad. He has a master's degree in marriage, family, and child therapy and was a practicing therapist for decades. Back in 1986, when I needed a job in psychology, I had finished my internship in Phil Haven, Pennsylvania, at Phil Haven Hospital in Mount Gretna, Pennsylvania, I should say. We had Emily. I needed a job. Nobody would give me a job. Can you believe that? I was too edgy. The Christian community, wasn't sure about me because I'm kind of edgy, and the secular folks didn't want me because I was a Christian. So my dad, William Clarke, gave me a job. I joined him in practice. We worked together for 5 years. Now, Dad was married to my mom, Kathleen, for 64 years. Mom's now in heaven. She passed just in late April. But Dad and Mom built and nourished a strong spiritual bond over the course of their marriage. I talk about that in the book as well. They were working on their spiritual bond right up to the day Dad called my mom to heaven. Now, here's who the book is targeted to. With 100% certainty, my blonde, Sandy, and I believe that spiritual bonding is vital to every couple. It shouldn't be an option. You have to do it or you'll lose your marriage. You might stay together, but you will not have much of a marriage. No matter your circumstances, this book's for you. No matter what is happening in your relationship, you've got to have spiritual bonding. So this is for married couples, obviously, and also unmarried couples. I think it's ideal if you're seriously dating and or engaged. This book would be ideal preparation for marriage because the spiritual intimacy is more important than the physical and emotional anyway. If one spouse is a Christian and the other not a Christian, this book is perfect for you. Slowly, gently, I'll lead the two of you through these steps, and very often, the non-Christian will come to Jesus, which is exactly what we want. But it happens over time. Both spouses could be Christians, but one's not growing spiritually. Is that your situation? Boy, I go to church. I'm walking the Lord. My husband goes to church or doesn't, but he's not really into the Lord, or the wife's not interested. Again, working together, that can change. Lead to breakthroughs, get around obstacles, so the person who's kind of lagging spiritually can really catch up and become on fire for the Lord. If your marriage is okay but not intimate, this book's for you. If one spouse is content, this marriage is fine. The other is unhappy and lonely. Again, working together, if the spouse will join you in the process, can change the marriage. Or if your marriage is in crisis, the best time for God is all the time, but if your marriage is in a crisis, that's the time to look to God and to begin a spiritual bond, especially if you both are Christians. Now, there are always obstacles to developing spiritual intimacy. It's very important, as I'm indicating, but it's hard to do. This devotional has a way of identifying the obstacles and getting you past the obstacles. That's one of the reasons I wrote it. All kinds of things come up, things in the past, childhood wounds, adult wounds, relationship issues, problems with God, a church burned me before. Whatever the obstacle, I think the book can help you get past it. Because if you can talk through the obstacle, which the book kind of makes you do in a subtle, low-key way, okay, now we can get past it. The lifeblood of every couple is intimacy. We all know that. If you don't spiritually bond, you will lose that vital ingredient, all of it. If you do spiritually bond, you will create the best kind of intimacy and keep it for a lifetime. That's a guarantee, and there aren't many guarantees in life. Now, every couple needs God's power to deal successfully with the issues, problems, and crises that come up in a relationship between a man and a woman. When you spiritually bond, God will use your pain and difficulties to change your relationship into a stronger and more intimate relationship. Now, here's the overview of the book's plan. My 52 devotions are divided into 4 categories. Category 1, and these are in order in the book. Category 1, how you developed spiritually. What your parents and others modeled and taught you in the spiritual area has everything to do with the quality of your spiritual life now. Category 2, how you and God can get closer. A careful examination of your current spiritual life can help you understand God and build a closer relationship with Him. Again, there's a series of devotionals that will help your spouse and you talk about your relationship with God now. Wouldn't you love to do that with your spouse? That doesn't happen unless you're reading a book like this, which hopefully is entertaining and there's humor and there's Bible, but it's a way to begin these conversations, and they're vitally important. Because a big part of the spiritual bond is sharing the personal growth you're each experiencing. And of course, if your partner isn't a Christian, you can talk about that and the whys, why they have not come to Jesus. That's covered in the book too. If they're a Christian but they're struggling, again, the book will guide them through why that is. If you can talk about it, you can fix it. Category 3 is how to spiritually bond. We've set the foundation. And so with the foundation laid, I show the two of you exactly how to form a spiritual bond. And finally, category 4, how to apply the Bible to your relationship. The Bible has a lot to say about marriage. So what I ask you to do in the book, in a series of devotionals at the end of the book, is to read and discuss verses that contain truth that will improve every area of your relationship. Can you imagine reading a verse of Scripture taking several days to process it and think about it and then come back and have conversation about that verse, that's what the book will help you do. It'll revolutionize your marriage. Everything the Bible touches changes for good. Now, here's how to use the book. Each devotional has, again, 5 sections. Okay, I went over the categories. This is now each individual devotional has 5 sections. The big idea, the topic for the devotional that day. Basic, what I call basics, a brief personal story or teaching. This is a personal story from my life. Bible, a section to read from the Bible. I call it you see, these are all B's. You picked it up, right? Very snappy, B, 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 B. But anyway, breakthrough. These are discussion questions and action steps, and this is really the heart of the book. In building these conversations, talking about spiritual things, talking about some difficult things, talking about marital things, this is what will lead to the breakthroughs in spiritual bonding. And then finally, what I call bring it to God. This is a short prayer that either of you may read aloud, but I've written out for you. Now, these devotions are designed to be read in order, beginning with day 1 and continuing through day 52. They're designed that way. You could skip around if you want, but I say take it in order because it's designed that way. Look, I'm the doctor here. Do it my way. Each devotional is designed to last, probably 10, 15 minutes. Now, if you get into deeper conversation about a topic, fine, and that's going to happen, I guarantee you. You can talk for 45 minutes. You don't have to. Some days you won't, some days you will. Now, I don't want you to do a devotion every single day, not that you would anyway. Who's going to do that? 52 straight days is unrealistic and would defeat my purpose of a gentle, gradual, progressive journey into spiritual bonding. Take it slow. I want you both to take the time to think about and process and even pray about each devotion's topic. Ideally, each devotion will lead to 1 or 2 follow-up conversations. It's these follow-up conversations that get you deeper and are a key part of creating your spiritual bond. Okay, let's say you do a devotion on Monday. You talk about the devotion on Tuesday, and maybe on Wednesday, the follow-up conversations. You might do another devotional on Thursday or Friday. You talk about that devotion for a couple of days. You see how it works? Slow, steady, thoughtful. Don't be in a rush. Some weeks you will only do 1 devotion because it will generate more and deeper follow-up conversations. In fact, some of these devotional days will really, for one of you, will really be difficult, and a difficult topic. You won't be able to talk about it much during that devotional day. That's okay. Take some time to process, get your feet under you, pray, ask for God's help, come back. You'll revisit that devotional. That's okay. Take the time to get through. Some days will go like that. But some days, if it hits a chord, if it hits an old wound, okay, that's going to take longer, and that's okay. Now, your choices in marriage are outrageous intimacy, which we all want, or the only other choice is bust. Those are your only 2 choices. Marriage is an either-or proposition. Now, you can choose to spiritually bond and experience outrageous intimacy. That's what I want for you. That's frankly what God wants for you, and it's what you want. Now, when I say outrageous, I mean a love that is way outside the normal, the usual, in a good way. Deep, passionate, strong, secure, joyful. This is the kind of love that through spiritual bonding our Heavenly Father will give you. And God's the only one that can give it to you. No one else can. Dave Clarke can't. Or you can choose to not spiritually bond and experience bust. When I say bust, I mean a love for which most couples settle. Even if nobody's getting divorced, and I hope you don't, it's weak, it's insecure, it's blah, it's superficial, it's boring. 2 people boring each other to death. Not fun. Now, without God, who is love, we see in the Bible, 1 John 4:8, at the center of your relationship, bust is your only destination. I tell you to go for outrageous intimacy. That's what this book, The Secret to Becoming Soulmates, can do for you. So over the next 4 months, I'm going to be doing podcasts based on 2 of my books. Of course, this new book, The Secret to Becoming Soulmates, and a book I wrote some years ago, which is still in print, miraculously enough. I wrote this book 15 years ago, if not longer. A Marriage After God's Own Heart. And A Marriage After God's Own Heart is a great follow-up to The Secret to Becoming Soulmates if you want to get even deeper in spiritual intimacy. Now, I'm going to convince you of the importance of spiritual bonding, explain the benefits of spiritual bonding, and tell you exactly how to spiritually bond. If you know Dr. Clarke at all, Dr. David Clarke, you know I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. That's what I do. Very practical person. So go to the website, daviddclarkephd.com, and take advantage of this special pre-sale. Don't you want to save money? Look, this book is actually worth $50. We're not selling it for that. You can get it for $15 in the month of October. Man, I'd go for it. David E. Clarke, Clarke with an E, David E. Clarke, PhD.com. Now, finally, I want to mention again, if you're enjoying these podcasts, please give us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. And share these podcasts with others. You can help us grow our audience and make a big impact, in fact, a huge impact on marriages. We are trying to save marriages and improve marriages and bring people to Jesus. That's why I wrote The Secret to Becoming Soulmates. So until next time, Dr. David E. Clarke, Clarke with an E,